Hey, thanks for joining us. On this video is we're going to go ahead and finish it up by adding more definition, okay, perhaps sharpening the edges, and then at the very end we're going to add a little bit of detail, and I'll show you that detail in a little bit. But the first thing we're going to do now is we want to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my magnifier, and we're going to go ahead and just kind of zoom in just a little bit here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pan it over so we can get a closer look. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and start to continue our layers, and we're also going to add a couple of paths. But first, let's go ahead and add a new layer. So we'll go to Layer, and we're going to go ahead and call this Layer 3, or actually no, Layer 3, yes. And we'll name this Outside Edge, or Outer Edge. That's really not the proper name. Let's call that Edge. Okay. Hit OK. And then what we're going to do is, now we have a layer for the edge, we're going to go to Paths, and we're going to go ahead and add a path. And this is a path that's going to help give us some definition. So, when you're ready, okay, now when you do this, make sure this is not engaged. You want to make sure that one's disengaged. So you can always check that by highlighting it and then de-highlighting it. We'll go ahead and grab our pen tool again, and what we're going to do is start our path outside of the object right here, and let's go ahead and tow it into here and tow it outside and come around. And remember that little loop, the little bubble that comes up? Once you see the bubble, that means you're going to close the loop. And there you go. All right. And you guys remember what we said about before going further is to go back in and convert your work path into an actual path. So let's go ahead and call this Path 2, and we call this Edge. Okay. So now, what you're going to do now is your edge path might be a little bit out of alignment. So what you want to do now is you want to go ahead and click over to your path selection tool, which is this little solid arrow here. Okay, there's two of them. There's selection, and if you right click, you'll find a direct selection, which allows you to make adjustments. But we're not going to fiddle with that today. We're going to go ahead and just kind of scoot this over. Now, if you go ahead and grab the black arrow and you engage or turn on the path, you can see if you grab it, you can actually move that whole path without fussing with it too much. Okay, and I just had to nudge it over just a little bit. I was a little bit off. Okay, and again, if you're a little bit off, you can still take that edge and you can, or that path, and you can select it and you can tilt it. You see, if you go ahead and use your editing tools or your transform tools, you can edit it. Okay, you can shrink it down if it's, you know, a little bit too long, a little bit too wide, right? And then when you're happy with it, just go ahead and click the selection button, or the selection marquee, and then I think I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go ahead and click out. So I'll just go back into this and just click outside. All right. So I think I'm ready to stroke that line to kind of create an edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our pen tool. Okay, and let's see, let's go to a little bit of a thinner black line. Okay, well, let's go ahead and keep it 12 points. I think it's fine. I think what I'm going to do also too is I'm going to soften that line, because I have a feeling when you look at this whole design, it's actually kind of got a soft edge. So I'm just going to soften it just a little bit. All right, and I'm going to keep it about that same size. I think I was at 12 points. I think I'm fine. So let's go ahead and grab our brush, and let's go ahead and check our layer. Make sure we've got a layer reserved for it, which we do, which is layer 3. And when you're ready, remember what we did, right? We made sure that our edge path was on, and then we went to the button here, almost to the end, the second from the left, and you go ahead and hit stroke, and there's your highlight. Okay. Ooh, that's not a highlight. That's a black line. Let's go ahead and change that. Now, what you can always do, you can go ahead and turn off your edge path, okay, and simply just treat that layer as an entity, and you'll just go back in and go to image, adjust, and invert. And what that did was we inverted the black line into a white line, and that's really a great way to get a highlight. All right. Now, what you want to do before you go too far is you want to go back in, you want to trim off that excess. So what you're going to do is this. You're going to go to path, and now you're going to engage the main shape path. Okay. And then you're going to go ahead and go down to the bottom. And remember that selection key that was right next to the stroke key? You're going to turn that on. Okay, you see the marching ants? Okay. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to keep an eye right here on these corners here. You see where there's a black and white line that's happening through there? Now, what you're going to see happen is you're going to see some transformation going on. All right? So what we're going to do is we're going to basically engage the selection tool, and we want to invert it and then delete all of that material on the outside of those marching ants. So let's go ahead and go select, inverse, okay? And what you're going to see, you probably don't see it here, but there's marching ants that are happening on the outside now. So now what's going to happen is it's going to remove anything outside of this box, all right? And when you're ready, just hit your delete key and watch these corners right here. Watch right here, right there, and right there. So I'm going to hit the delete key, and you see how it went away? That means that I've now cleaned up my edge, and I'm good to go. So when you're ready, go deselect, and now you've got a defined edge. All right? Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add detail. So we're once again go back to our layer, and we're going to add a new layer. We'll call this layer 4, I believe. And we'll call this detail. Okay. What kind of details are we going to do? Well, I'm going to go ahead and illustrate this as if it was made in 2 halves. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go back to our path area. And we're going to go ahead and add a new path. Now, we can do that because these are both inactive. Okay, see, I've made sure those are both off. So we'll go back in with the pen tool. And let's go ahead and create an interesting part line. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and click outside the box. Now, one of the things to remember in Photoshop is you kind of way have to know where you're going with the illustration. Okay, that's the trick. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and maybe just go up, and again, when the bubble appears, that gives me a clear connection. Now you're probably thinking, wow, this is weird. What is Dave doing here? And I'm essentially just looping the path. I'm going to get rid of what I don't need, okay, and then I'm going to make it, and then I'll have my finished detail here. But what I'm going to do here, which is going to be a little different, is I'm going to I'm going to select these points and I'm going to move them around. So before we do that, let's go ahead and save this path. So I'll call this path 3. Oops. And I'll just call this detail. Okay. And hit OK. And you see now it's got the name. So while it's selected, I'm going to go back to that black arrow. I'm going to make a few adjustments. So if you look closely, I'm not exactly where I need to be on some of these. So let's go ahead and push and pull on some of these points. So I'm going to go to my selection tool, and I'm going to switch over to direct selection. And you'll see right away because it becomes a white arrow. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click out. I'm going to re-click again. And you see what happens when you click again. You have these handles now that you can grab and pull. Okay? See how I'm kind of grabbing them? They change color from black or from the blue to the white. And that tells me that I've got that particular handle under my control. So you see how I'm just going to kind of move them around. And don't worry about kind of sketching over or grabbing over certain areas. That's okay because that's not active. All right. So Now we've gone ahead and grabbed this detail. This detail basically describes how this is going to be made. There's going to be an upper and a lower half. So let's go ahead and click out. Okay. And let's go ahead and make that, make sure that path is active. And we have a layer for our detail, which we do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stroke that line. I think I want to stroke this line with something a little bit thinner. So let's go ahead and grab the brush. Let's make sure it's a hard brush, so we have a nice defined line. And I'm going to cut that with an 8-point line, so it's a little bit thinner than the 12-point that we had. Okay. And let's go ahead and click away. And when you're ready, you can stroke that line. Make sure you have a black line. So I think we do. Always check this color box. And we'll go back to the stroke button, which is right here, second from the left. And when you're ready, make sure it's on, which it is. Stroke the line. Okay. There you go. Now, obviously, we do have this excess, but I don't think I'm ready to cut off the excess, which is right here, all this excess on the right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create a highlight, because when you look at this, it's actually looks a little plain Jane. So let's go back to the layer. Okay, and what we're going to do to create that highlight, okay, which is sort of the exposed edge or the cut edge, we're going to take that detail line and we're going to duplicate it. Okay, so you're going to right click, and I want to go ahead and duplicate that layer, and we're going to rename it. We'll go layer 4A because they're kind of associated, and we'll call highlight. Okay. And nothing happened, right? Don't worry. What you're going to do now is remember what we did back here when we did the outside edge and we took the black line and we turned it into a white line. How do we do it? Make sure that is activated. These are deactivated. Okay. And you want to go to Image, Adjust, and Invert. Now watch what happens to that black line. Watch what happens when I do that. Boom, it's white. All right. Now, obviously, we can't have a white line sitting at the top of the black line. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your selection key, excuse me, and you're going to go ahead and grab that line, and you're going to nudge it. Okay, now you can nudge it either by using your arrow keys. Okay, you see the arrow keys on the lower right-hand side of your keyboard, or you can grab it with your mouse and just kind of drag it over. Okay, you see how I'm kind of dragging it over? And I'm dragging it in a way where it's actually kind of becoming a bit in shadow. It's becoming not a shadow, but it's becoming the exposed edge of that line. Okay. Now, it's not going to be perfect. Okay. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do a little tweaking. So there are two ways you can do it. You can go ahead and use your transform buttons here, and you distort, right? Or you can skew. You can even transform, but I don't think I want to transform it because, well, let's give it a go with the transform. Well, I don't want to confuse you. I think it's easier to use the distortion tool because we can grab it and we can just kind of nudge it over a little bit. Okay, just nudge it over. See how I'm nudging it? Just kind of dragging it over here, and I'm going to drag it over here on this side. It's sort of an asymmetrical thing that we've got going on here. Okay. Okay, that's getting there. Okay. There, that's pretty good. Okay, so now we have this white highlight. I'll share with you a little later how we're going to clean that up. But let's go ahead now and let's just go ahead and clip off what we don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and center this on the screen, and we're going to go ahead and combine these two layers, so now we only have one thing to trim off. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and right-click the highlight layer, and you're going to go ahead and you're merge down to the next layer. So I'm just going to toggle down here, and you see where it says merge down. Just hit it once, and if you turn the layer on and off, you'll see that they're together. You see? Okay, so once we have that layer together, let's go back to our path tool, and let's go ahead and grab our main shape. Okay, let's make that active. Okay, so I've gone right back to the first layer, and we're going to go to the third one. And you see how you have the marching ants? Now, remember how we trimmed off this white edge line before? You're going to do the same thing, but what you have to first do is you have to hit inverse. And what that's going to do, and you can see the marching ants now, right around here, right? And what you want to do now is hit the delete key and watch what happens to all of this stuff here on the right, on the detail line. And we hit delete, there it goes. Okay. So when you're ready and you're happy, just hit deselect. And there you have it. All right, now I know that I didn't paint this edge, and that's okay. We can do that another time. If you want, we can do it. But for now, I think this demo kind of demonstrates what's going on when you add definition, okay, and detail. All right. So we'll see you next time on the next video. Thanks.